They're interested if you've had any volunteer hours, any community service hours. What special talents, of course, do you have? Sometimes they may look at characteristics such as your race, your gender, career choice, and so forth and so on. There's so many different items they can look at in order to determine whether or not you reach the criteria they're looking for the scholarship in which they're making available. Merit-based aid. We have a particular one that I'm very, very excited about. It's called the North Carolina Forgivable Education Loan for Service. And you may say, now, Ms. Broadway, you talked about in the beginning, we were going to discuss scholarships and grants, which is free money. Why are we talking about loans? Well, hold on, hear me out. Forgivable Education Loan for Service is to qualify students who are committed to working within the state of North Carolina in identified critical employment shortage professions. And this particular scholarship / loan, I like to refer to it as, comes out December 1. Whenever you see a scholarship entitled scholarship / loan, you want to make sure you read and you understand all of the information, because there is some criteria that must be met in order for it to no longer be a loan and turn into a scholarship. This particular scholarship / loan is geared towards students who are pursuing a career in teaching, nursing, medicine, and allied health. Many of you may remember, parents, if you're on the line, you may remember some programs entitled Nurse Educators of Tomorrow, Nurse Scholars Program, maybe the Board of Governors, Dental or Medical Scholarship Loan, the Prospective Teacher Scholarship Loan. Well, we no longer have that, but we combine all of those into this one scholarship / loan, the FELS. And we encourage students who are going to be going into these programs to definitely visit cfnc.org/FELS so you can get detailed information. The great thing about this particular scholarship loan program is that it is geared towards students who are pursuing an undergraduate degree, a master's degree, or doctorate degree. So that doesn't eliminate us as adults, parents. You may find yourself being eligible to possibly apply for this scholarship / loan. I want to say also how it turns into a scholarship is that as long as you meet the criteria for the program and you maintain the GPA, the grade point average that has been assigned to that particular program, if you're pursuing an undergraduate degree, a master's degree, or doctorate degree, they all have different GPA requirements. Once you graduate from that program, you are signing a contract stating that you will remain in the state of North Carolina working in your field of study. As long as you do that, the state of North Carolina will assist with paying those monies back. So that's how it turns from a scholarship, from a loan into a scholarship. Need-based scholarships, always based on the student's financial circumstances. Scholarships, many times, particularly need-based, they're going to be looking at how much can the family contribute to their child's education or to their education. And we refer to that as their EFC. That information is going to be given once we complete our FAFSA form and we receive a student aid report, or the college or university receives that information. I want you to read along with me in this paragraph. Student gets this information by completing the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, parent and student's current assets and prior year's income. Some sponsors, some institutions may have their own forms in order to determine need. Keep that in mind as well. Need may be subjective to, according to scholarship sponsors guidelines. And we've got some wonderful examples here. And one sponsor may have an income base that another one doesn't have. It may be lower, it could be higher. As you can see here from this example, one sponsor may want the family income to be less than $50,000, while another may want it to be $20,000, and yet another could want it to be $100,000. So it's going to vary depending upon the sponsor that is offering that particular scholarship. Now, in order for us to be considered, of course, for scholarships, we want to make sure that we do apply for financial aid. 9 times out of 10, they're going to require the FAFSA being on file. So parents, students, remember, after October 1 of your senior year in high school, the first time you'll be completing your FAFSA form will be at that time. And we want you to complete it online because there's less room for error by going to FAFSA.gov. If you should forget where this information can be found. We definitely encourage you to go to FAFSA.gov's website, but CFNC has a link to it on our website. So do remember that. Also, remember, if you're completing this application online, you can't sign it manually. So you're going to need what we refer to as a federal student aid identification number. And that information can be retrieved by you completing the application at fsaid.ed.gov. One parent from the household and the student that's going to be benefiting from that information. So we want to get that application out of the way so that we can, when we apply for scholarships, that we will be able to receive the monies that we have earned. We don't want a delay to come up. So let's get this FAFSA form on file after October 1 of your senior year in high school and thereafter. Federal student financial aid programs based on FAFSA results. So we have a benefit of completing. There are many benefits of completing the FAFSA form in addition to scholarships. We want to be considered for grants. The way in which we are considered for grants, we have to submit that FAFSA form. It has to be on file because those will be state and federal monies that we are hoping to receive. The federal Pell Grant is given to students who show need. It's not all or nothing. You may show a small portion of need, or you may show a great amount of need. So you may get $6,000 versus you may get $2,000. It just depends upon how much need you are showing. But in order for you to receive it, you do have to complete the FAFSA form, because the FAFSA form, I like to refer to it as this: it drives all financial aid. When you're completing that FAFSA form, you're now applying for your financial aid. In addition, the federal supplemental grant, and that's given to students whose family has a very low EFC, expected family contribution. We also have the TEACH grant, which is a merit-based grant for students who know they want to teach certain subjects. Otherwise, it does become a loan, very similar to the Forgivable Education Loan for Services. Some colleges do not offer the TEACH grant, by the way, so you'll be able to find that information by visiting their site. We also have some self-help aid programs such as work study and, of course, loans. Work study is a program where students are allowed to work on a college campus in various departments. They will earn at least minimum wage, but depending upon what department they would be working in will determine what that annual, shall I say, hourly rate is going to be. And it also allows the student to get some wonderful work experience while working on campus. So again, that FAFSA form has to be on file. We also have the federal direct loan program. We just want to mention that because sometimes students don't receive enough free money to cover the cost, so therefore they may need to borrow monies for the parent. So colleges and universities across the country will participate in the federal direct loan program. I want to highlight the subsidized Stafford loan. The interest rate is 2.75, but the great thing about the subsidized Stafford loan, for students who show need, the government will pay the interest for that student while they're enrolled in school up until 6 months after they graduate or drop below half-time. Also, you have the unsubsidized Stafford loan, which is not a need-based loan. You will be charged interest, but you can defer those interest payments until after you graduate or drop below half-time. And then the parent loan for the undergraduate student is, of course, based on credit, and that interest rate is 4.3%. North Carolina need-based financial aid program is based on FAFSA results. So when we complete the free application for federal student aid, we're applying as North Carolina residents for the various grants that are offered by the state of North Carolina. The UNC need-based grant are for students who meet the criteria and they are accepted. They've accepted admissions at a UNC system school out of the 16. We also have the community college grant for students who meet the criteria and they have accepted admissions at one of the 58 community colleges here in the state of North Carolina. The need-based scholarship for students attending private North Carolina institutions. We have over 36 of those within the state of North Carolina. So students who accept admissions at our private school and meet the criteria, they will be considered for this grant as well. The North Carolina Education Lottery Scholarship is available at public campuses only. So you would either have to accept admissions at a UNC system school or a community college in order to be considered for the North Carolina Education Lottery Scholarship. So all students attending North Carolina colleges must complete the residency determination service application, which is housed on CFNC's website, or you can visit ncresidency.org in order to access that application. Pay tab on CFNC. We're really excited about our CFNC Next Gen, which we launched this past summer. We revamped quite a few of our tools on CFNC's website. And we've made that scholarship search a lot more seamless, where you have a great amount of filters that you can set as to what you're looking for in a scholarship. You may say, I want to look at scholarships that are only geared towards students who live in Avery County or Jones County or Wake County or what have you. And we'll just show you those scholarships. Rather than you applying or looking at scholarships for students who attend, who are Alamance County resident, knowing that you're not a resident of that county. So we don't want to waste your time. We want you to use your time as wisely as possible. So take advantage of the filters that we have within our scholarship search. And if you look in the middle of the page, we give you a card view of all of the scholarships. Once you have set your filters, and we're going to give the results back to you based upon your request, you will be able to see detailed information about that scholarship at a card view, as well as you'll be able to see the award amount, as well as the deadline for that scholarship. And we'll just allow you to see a few of them on the screen at one shot, but you can scroll through them, of course, and look at the various pages that met the filters that you have set. Also, in addition, we have the ability for you to look at scholarships by residency. Maybe you're not a North Carolina resident, and I don't want to waste my time looking at those particular scholarships because I'm not a resident of North Carolina. I'm not a U.S. citizen of North Carolina. Most of you are going to be North Carolina residents because you're attending a North Carolina school, but you may not be a U.S. citizen. So therefore, you can set that parameter as well. The great thing about CFNC scholarships is this: you're only competing with your North Carolina peers. It's geared primarily toward North Carolina residents attending a North Carolina college or university, but there are some scholarships on the website for students who may be going out of state. It's just a handful, but it's primarily for our students who remain here in the state of North Carolina. So please take advantage of these scholarships that we have listed on CFNC. We have another awesome tool under our financial literacy program, and you can look where that green arrow is pointed toward financial basics. We have a wonderful online course where high school students can take advantage of learning about overspending, overborrowing, credit card debt, credit card theft, how to choose a banking institution, and so forth and so on. We want our residents here in the state of North Carolina, our students, to be financially literate and not illiterate. So we're trying to provide as much information as we possibly can. Within the program, we do want you to create an account name and password in order for you to be able to access. And the great thing about that, you don't have to complete it all in one setting. You can save it and pick back up where you've left off. You get a free credit report at the end of the course, and you also get a certificate for completing the course. But that's not the kicker. The kicker is this: your name will be entered into a pool where we will randomly draw for $500 scholarships. And not only did you, if you win, you get $500, but guess what? The information you receive on this financial literacy course is the value of it is far greater than $500. Information that you can keep with yourself and help yourself make some wonderful financial decisions in your future. Besides CFNC, where in the world else can I find information about scholarships? Well, there's no one site for scholarships, but do remember this: never pay for scholarship information. When someone starts mentioning you paying, that's a red flag, of course. Make sure you utilize your high school counselors, your college access advisor, and most importantly, your high school website. Because of COVID, everyone is doing primarily everything online and virtually. So you're going to have to comb through your school's website as often as you possibly can. And I'd like to mention to my students that I work with in the various counties within my region, if you live in Johnston County, for example, I would visit every high school website in Johnston County, because one counselor is going to put something on her website that the other counselor, he's not putting on his. And they may be geared toward you being a resident of that county, some of the scholarships. So take advantage of all of the websites within your county to see if they have something different on their website. Also, make sure you're checking out newsletters, local email lists, private scholarships, local and regional your parents' employer. Talk with your mom and dad at the dinner table about, where they work. A mom, you know whether or not they offer scholarships at your employment, your wherever you go to church or what have you. I would definitely check into that. Civic organizations, community foundations, booster clubs, alumni associations. If you work part-time, students, check with your employer as well to find out if there are any scholarships out there that you can apply. No stone left unturned. Please check everything you can find out about scholarships. And of course, colleges and universities you plan to attend, they will have scholarships that is being offered to the students being offered admissions on their website. So please go to the college or university's website to find out about their merit-based scholarships for the students who attend their institutions. If you're planning on going to school out of state, you can find out also on schools' websites, colleges and universities' website, what types of resources do you offer out-of-state students? What scholarships do you have for out-of-state students? So just ask, and ask. We also have some other sites that we encourage you to visit, such as collegeboard.com, studentaid.gov. And you all were born into this social media world, so make sure you're checking out Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you're networking, talking with others, talking with your neighbor or what have you, but also use your national scholarship search sites as well. Speaking of which, national scholarship search sites, you want to be very careful. Again, if you are being asked to invest in order to get free money, guess what? It's not free because you're paying for it. So that's a red flag. When in doubt, ask questions, call CFNC. We will try to look into it, of course, and get back with you and let you know whether or not this is a reliable scholarship. So again, scholarships.com, Big Future, CAPEX, check out all of these different resources. They are listed on CFNC's website as well. But just keep checking things out, asking as many questions as you possibly can, because there's a lot of free money, believe it or not. I know you've heard this, that goes unclaimed, and it is true. And many times they will extend their deadline, but don't use that as an excuse. Just take advantage of all of your resources. Well, now I am going to turn this hot mic over to my colleague, Mr. Skip Watts, and he is going to take us on home.
Thanks,
take it over, Skip.
I didn't wear anything green today. But nobody can pinch me virtually, so I'm not worried about it. At any rate, I'm Skip Watts again. I work out in the 828 area code. I'm really glad to be here talking with you about scholarships and grants. So we have some national scholarship search engines up on this slide. I love all engines that are in this slide. However, I strongly recommend that students try to focus attention on local, state, and maybe even regional or institutional scholarships first. Oftentimes those have smaller applicant pools than the national scholarship search engines, just because they're geared towards a smaller population. So again, focus on those smaller regional, local opportunities first, but definitely don't hesitate to utilize any of the resources that I have up on screen. Now, as far as national scholarship search engines go, just be careful. You never want to pay for scholarship information. This should always be free. And from what Soretta and I have seen in our experience in this game is that some of those national scholarship search engines are actually tools that try to lead students towards private or alternative student loans. And private or alternative student loans aren't necessarily a bad thing, but some have very high interest rates. And in some instances, they have fixed interest rates, which can go up to or exceed 18% quarterly. So if you're going to borrow outside of the federal loan program that we refer to as the direct loan program, you might want to consider the North Carolina option, which is the North Carolina Assist or the NC Assist loan. It has a fixed interest rate that's really competitive with what the national average is. Now, as far as private scholarships go, private scholarships can come from a variety of organizations. It could come from your church, for example. If you're really active in your youth group, I would consider any scholarships that come from your church or your faith-based organization to be a private scholarship. They could also come from your parents' employer. Private scholarships could come from local employers or local restaurants, or maybe even your employer. So it's really important, students, that if you're going to pursue private scholarships, which I strongly recommend that you do, you research the company and you understand exactly what they're all about. For example, if you want to go into a STEM related field, maybe you want to be an aeronautical engineer, it might be helpful to look for scholarships at big turbine manufacturers like Siemens in Chicago. If you know the organization wants to hire people from a specific part of an industry, it might be helpful to look into scholarships. They might very well offer them. Again, like Soretta said, we want to turn over every possible stone. And in that mindset, we need to think outside the box when looking for scholarships. You can sometimes check out previous winner essays simply by Googling the scholarship plus previous winner essays. And that can give you a mindset of what that scholarship subcommittee is looking for from awardees. You'll also want to find out possibly who's judging for that scholarship. That might help you again to cater your essay and maybe even your resume to meet their specifications. Now, I recommend students apply for every possible scholarship they think they're eligible for. That could be smaller scholarships that are worth as little as $50, all the way to bigger full ride scholarships. The more scholarships we apply for students, the more potential eligibility we have for that free money. Okay, but there's nobody awarding scholarships where you're sitting on the sofa and playing a lot of Xbox. So again, you have to take the time to do the research. And once you do that, you need to make sure that you hit the deadlines on that timetable so you're eligible. Now, small awards can pay big dividends. And I oftentimes use this reference down here at the bottom. If you spend like 80 hours looking for scholarships during your junior and senior year in high school, and assume you win like $5,000 in scholarships, if you break that down by hour, you're getting paid $62.50 hourly, which is more than I get paid. And I have all kinds of credentials after my name. Now, as far as preparing for your scholarship application, you want to read and follow all the directions. Eligibility and deadlines are critical, so make sure you stay organized. I recommend students maybe setting up a spreadsheet in Excel or Numbers or whatever function you use. And in that, maybe have 5 columns. In those 5 columns, you could have a column for the name of the scholarship, the deadline, which is very important, the award amount, maybe a column for recommendation letters and essay requirements. If you can keep that really orderly, you have a better chance of meeting all those expectations. Once you have applied for that scholarship or you're in the process of applying, make sure you have somebody check your grammar. Don't just rely on spell check, but have somebody that is close to you and that you trust proofread everything that you're submitting. You don't want to lose that opportunity because of misspelling or something like that. Complete all questions in full on the application. Don't leave anything unanswered. And if you do, definitely leave a note as to why you left that question unanswered. And you can also call private organizations or institutions and ask about scholarships. If you do so, make sure you keep your manners to the utmost. It's helpful if you're meeting with scholarship subcommittees in person that you also dress the part and that you're polite and you use a professional email, which goes without saying. Now, as far as essays and personal statements go, oftentimes scholarships require the submission of an essay, and it can range from a Twitter scholarship that's really short, it's like 140 characters, all the way up to a much more substantial essay. So regardless, make sure you type it, you double space it, you leave margins, engage the reader as quickly as you can. Remember, these scholarship subcommittees, the people that are in those are reading a ton of applications. The quicker you can grab their attention, the more emphasis they'll put into your application. Use concrete details, who, what, when, where, and help that reader visualize what you're trying to get them to experience, okay? Don't just say you're a leader, write about how you've been a leader, write about situations where you've taken hold and you've been a leader. The reader should know you when you're finished, okay? Judges, again, have a ton of these to read, so make sure you stand out. And if writing is particularly difficult, like sitting down at the computer and actually writing out your essay, you might want to use that function on your smartphone where you can speak into it and it turns your speech into text. Oftentimes, students have a lot of success utilizing those functions, again, on their smartphone. Now, the Do What You Are assessment is one of many assessments on CFNC. This, however, is one of my favorites with regards to pursuing scholarships and grants. It's going to take you about 15 or 20, maybe even 30 minutes to complete this, students. It's a free assessment, though, as are all the tools on CFNC. But if you complete the Do What You Are, it might give you some insight not only about who you are currently, but where you're headed, and that might aid in completing essays and other responsibilities associated with pursuing individual scholarships. Now, some other scholarship tips, just to kind of sum up. You definitely want to answer the prompt on any essay that you have to submit. You're going to stay within those link requirements. You're going to personalize it. You're going to tell a story. Again, you're going to have it proofread by somebody that you trust can do a good job. You definitely want to read all the instructions associated with that scholarship so that you can definitely meet all the guidelines, and then keep applying for scholarships regardless of whether or not you're pursuing your associate's degree, your bachelor's degree, or even a graduate degree. Oftentimes in my region, community colleges, for example, have individual foundations where students pursuing their associate's degree can look for scholarships just at that community college. Almost all four-year institutions offer institutional scholarships, and sometimes those scholarships are made available after the students completed all their core curriculum and have moved on into their major. That might be your junior year in college, but don't stop pursuing free money, because the more we can find in scholarship dollars, the less we potentially have to borrow or pay out of pocket. And then as far as graduate school goes, there's fewer scholarship opportunities at the graduate level, but there are fellowships and they're definitely worth pursuing. Now, as far as scholarship interviews go, if you're lucky enough to get an interview, you should pat yourself on the back already, because that's an accomplishment in and of itself. Remember, a lot of these scholarships receive a ton of applications. So if you've made it to the interview phase, you're doing awesome. But let's keep up the good work and let's get all the way through and get awarded that free money. So the first thing I recommend you do is start thinking about some sample questions. You can find those on the internet. You might want to talk to a school counselor, or maybe even an employer or a teacher that you really respect can help you with this process. Oftentimes, those interview questions kind of surround your background, your academic achievements, details about the colleges you want to attend, maybe your future plans, and maybe your personal values. The more you practice, the better. So I recommend, when you're thinking about answering these interview questions, that you actually get in front of a mirror. And it sounds kind of crazy, but it really helps me to feel comfortable in a public speaking environment. And again, if you've made it this far, let's make sure we maximize that opportunity. Now, many scholarships, if not most, on CFNC and just generally require recommendation letters. Oftentimes it's 3 recommendation letters that are required. And students, you can get those recommendation letters from people that know you really well, but aren't your family members. Okay, your family members already think you're awesome, so they don't really qualify. Instead, recommendation letters are best if they're gotten from your employer, if you got a part-time job, or your coach if you're on a sports team, or maybe your favorite teacher, or your pastor, or your priest, or your imam. Basically somebody that knows you well and can speak to your positive attributes, but again, is not a direct family member. Okay. Always ask that person who's writing you that recommendation letter. Well, don't ask this of them, but give them at least 2 weeks to get that letter written, because oftentimes these individuals have been asked by several students, so we don't want to pressure them for time. And what I've found in my experience is it's oftentimes helpful if students can provide that individual who is writing their recommendation letter just some background facts about what they've done with their life and where they're headed. If that's the case, you maybe just give them a resume or just a detailed list of what you've accomplished. They can take that information and really individualize your recommendation letter. Once you have those 3 recommendation letters in hand, I recommend you make a bunch of different copies and then file them. Oftentimes those will be required in paper. So if you have copies available quickly, you can put them in the mail and get them to that scholarship subcommittee. Now, as far as preparing your resume goes, you definitely want to include the classes you've taken and the classes you're currently enrolled in. You're going to highlight the classes that you did really well in, obviously. You're going to highlight your grades. Your junior year is really important to stress on that resume. If you're attending any extracurricular opportunities like a club, or if you're active athletically, or you're doing something with your church or your youth group, you definitely want to mention those on your resume. And then if you have any leadership roles, you definitely want to highlight those in your resume. So if you're like first chair in the band or you're captain of the baseball team, definitely highlight that on your resume, because that'll, well, for one, it'll help whoever's writing your recommendation letter to really personalize that letter. But sometimes scholarships actually let's ask for a resume alongside of recommendation letters as well. Now, this is just some information that we compiled that we think will help students that are currently in their 12th grade year. Even if you're in 12th grade right now, you can still start searching for scholarships. It's not too late, okay? It might, however, be a little bit late for some institutional scholarships. Oftentimes the scholarships that are awarded by the college, those are awarded in the fall. So if you missed that opportunity, you might want to check into it for next year. Again, oftentimes you can apply for scholarships while you're enrolled at a specific college. So don't miss that avenue. There's a lot of free money there. You're going to talk with your school counselor if you're a 12th grader, because oftentimes they have some individual scholarships in their office that you might not know of, or at the very least, check their webpage. In my region, some school counselors do a phenomenal job of detailing scholarship opportunities that students in their region are eligible for. Okay, you definitely want to hit those scholarship deadlines. There's still a lot of opportunity out there, 12th graders, but if you haven't already started your research, let's get after it like yesterday, okay? You want to complete the residency determination service if you haven't already done so. That is something that you do as a North Carolina resident to ensure you get in-state tuition discounts at our public universities and community colleges. You want to complete your FSA ID, you want to record that in your phone, and then you want to complete the FAFSA if you haven't already done so. If you're enrolling in college in August of 2021, okay, in this year, you're going to use your 2019 taxes or your parents' 2019 taxes to complete that process for this school year. Okay, I recommend you attend a financial aid workshop, which you're already doing, so you can pat yourself on the back there. You want to stay organized. Like I said, use the spreadsheet if you really want to be proactively minded, and then enjoy your last year of free laundry and hot meals. Okay, that's really important, guys. You'll start to really embrace that once you're on a college campus. Now, some information for juniors here. You want to stay on track academically. Your junior year is critically important for scholarship attainment. You want to narrow down the number of colleges you're going to apply to. You don't want to necessarily apply to 30 colleges, because that could get really expensive. So you want to identify colleges that have your potential major, and then you want to focus on those schools. Again, you don't want to spend too much on application fees. So you want to start narrowing down that list of colleges. Or you can also focus on taking advantage of CFNC's College Application Week, which happens sometime in October or November. You'll just want to go to the CFNC events page. And if you take advantage of that program, you might be able to apply to a lot of private schools statewide for free, because their application fee waivers are waived, their application fees are waived that week. You want to start looking at the cost of attendance at the colleges you're looking at. That's like every cost that's associated with going to that school. So you want to get familiar with that. Ideally, you'll meet that cost of attendance with scholarship and grant dollars. You might want to start going to CFNC and checking out the scholarships in our Pay for College side of our website. You might want to start applying for any scholarships you're eligible for now. Sometimes there's scholarships that actually 11th graders can apply for. You want to attend, again, financial aid workshops, which you're already doing, so awesome job. But a lot of this information changes from year to year. So I definitely recommend you attend another financial aid workshop or some kind of financial aid programming at your high school next year. And then spend your summer wisely. That's the best time for juniors to really start pursuing scholarship opportunities. I'm not asking that you spend 40 hours a week doing this, but I strongly recommend students that you allocate a certain amount of time each week to just searching for scholarships on all the different resources that we have relayed today. CFNC's also got a bunch of calculators that are designed to really just help students familiarize themselves with the financial aid process. We've also got a budget calculator, we've got a bank balancing calculator, and we also have a financial aid FAQ. So if you have any burning questions and you don't feel comfortable calling us, which you can always go to that financial aid FAQ and find that information directly on the website. Now, I alluded to the fact that you can call CFNC for financial aid related information. Here is our toll-free number. Feel free to connect with us as well on social media. Each individual rep has a social media account. So I've got a Facebook account, and I've got a LinkedIn, and all kinds of different social media related accounts. So just look us up. I'm Skip at CFNC on Facebook, and I'd be the same at LinkedIn. So check me out there. Always at Instagram as well, and all the other reps have those same handles. So feel free to reach out to us and ask questions or whatever you need. Now I'm going to turn it over real quickly to Soretta, and we're going to try to answer the questions that are in the chat. So I'm going to pull up the chat, and let's see what questions we can answer. And again, if you have a question that's burning, feel free to go ahead and put that in the chat. Now, Soretta, do you see any questions that I haven't answered? Let me see here.
I think our colleague Amy Denton, of course, is on the line. And while we were talking and chatting away, she was answering questions. I think I might have double answered them or what have you, but I think we've caught up on the questions thus far. But if you still have a burning question, feel free to put it in the chat, or if you want to verbally ask your question, feel free to do that as well. But we definitely want to thank you for taking time out of your Wednesday hump day.
And I should also point out, Loretta, I should also point out that if a student has a financial aid question, oftentimes the college that they hope to attend is a really good resource to get that question answered.
That's exactly right.
Oftentimes, yeah, every college has different financial aid policies. So feel free to reach out to their financial aid office directly if you have some questions, and they can be, again, a really good resource. Now,
I see. Go ahead.
I see a question down there about RDS.
Yes.
And that's from Callie. RDS is the Residency Determination Service. Students in North Carolina should complete the Residency Determination Service in order to get in-state tuition discounts at our public institutions. So you know how there's like tuition discounts for students that are residents of the state they live in, or the residents of the state the college is in? If you do RDS, you're potentially made eligible for those in-state tuition discounts. And you may also be eligible for institutional opportunities at private schools in North Carolina. So again, it's a program seniors have to do at the beginning of their senior year, preferably before they start the college application process.
Okay, I do see a question here that says, will you be able to get financial aid even after a gap year? Yes, you will, as long as you apply for financial aid. That's the main thing. And I want to stress, you do apply for financial aid on an annual basis. But even if you have a gap year, there's nothing wrong with that. But prior to the year of you actually going to school, we always can apply for financial aid prior to the year of needing the monies. So definitely you can still apply and be eligible for financial aid.
Soretta, I got another great question here. And I think somebody might have misheard me. It said, did I hear you correctly? If you're graduating in 2022, do you use your 2019 tax information? And that's a no, okay? If you're graduating from high school in 2022, you will use your 2020 tax information. However, if you're currently a senior in high school and you hope to enroll in college in August of 2021, you will then use your 2019 tax information. Hopefully that clarifies it.
Don't be shy. Ask any questions that you like. And I want, as Skip emphasized, we're going to be having virtual programs on various topics throughout the course of the year. So please make sure you do check our CFNC page, our YouTube, our Twitter, our Instagram to stay abreast of the various topics that we're going to have virtual programs on. Of course, we are notifying your school counselors or what have you to get the word out. But of course, you know, just stay connected to us as well, and you'll be able to know what's going to be coming up for you to take advantage of.
And in conclusion, Soretta, I like to, again, kind of use the analogy of thinking outside of the box or flipping over every stone. Try to look at every individual resource you possibly can for scholarships. The more scholarship dollars you can obtain, the fewer dollars, again, you'll have to pay out of pocket, the less you'll have to potentially borrow. The less you borrow, the less you'll have to pay back. So put some time into this, okay, students? The more time you put towards it, the more free money that you're possibly eligible for. So thanks for your attendance tonight. And Soretta, thank you for having me in on this.
Thank you, Skip. Thank you so very much. You all have truly been a great audience, and tell your friends, tell your neighbors to check out CFNC. We are a free resource to the state of North Carolina, providing information on planning, applying, paying, and saving for college. If there are no more questions, can you explain the difference between a FAFSA school and a CSS profile? Well, go ahead, Skip.
Okay. The CSS profile is a program that a lot of colleges require that actually, in a sense, kind of stacks on top of the FAFSA and fills in some gaps about the family's financial history that may be within that FAFSA. So I think in North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, there's 6 institutions that require the CSS profile. And I'm going to try to name all those, and Soretta, you might have to back me up.
I'm going to put them in the chat.
Okay, UNC Chapel Hill, Duke, Davidson, oh goodness gracious.
Wake Forest.
Wake Forest, and Elon.
Mhm.
Those schools are going to require a student complete the CSS profile. There is a fee associated with the profile. You only have to pay that fee one time, and your results will be relayed to the individual schools that you sent FAFSAs to. So there is a difference, and that's a great question.
And you access that application by going to collegeboard.com's website, and that's where the CSS profile application is actually housed. It's not a free application. You can request a waiver, however, but there is a fee to complete the CSS profile. And of course, Skip gave you the names of the colleges and universities within the state of North Carolina requiring the CSS profile, but of course, colleges out of state require it as well. So when you go to CSS profile on collegeboard.com's website, those colleges will be listed, unfortunately, in alphabetical order, not by state. So you want to go through that list to see if your college or university is requiring it, if it's a school outside of North Carolina. But I'm putting in the chat the colleges that are actually requiring the CSS profile application, in addition to the FAFSA form. Any last comments? Skip?
No, I appreciate the opportunity again. Thank you everybody for attending tonight. Hopefully we'll give you a little bit of time back for your evening. Have a great dinner if you haven't already had dinner. And again, Soretta, thanks for the opportunity. Good luck, guys.
Thank you all. Have a great evening.